In today's episode, Jennifer asks, do you know how to use Google Data Studio to look at website traffic in a 10-minute window before and after a television commercial time airs? So, interesting application. I don't know that I would use Data Studio will work for this. Yes, there's a way to do that. Google Analytics keeps 3 different date parameters. It keeps the year, month, and day. That's one parameter, the GA date parameter. It does hour of day, and then it does minute. And there's a consolidated text field called GA date hour minute, which you can find in Google Analytics and Google Data Studio, that you can then visualize it in some forms as a chart. So let's look at how to do this. I'm going to switch over here to our application. So here we are in Google Data Studio. Let's go ahead and make sure, obviously, that you have a data source connected. That is a Google Analytics account. And just as a general best practice, always slap a little date browser there. Now let's go ahead and start with a table. I'll slap this table in here. And we have page views and we have medium. So if I start typing date in here, you'll see date and date hour minute. Date hour minute is the field we're looking for. Now, one thing you'll notice though is that date hour minute shows up as a text field. And the reason for this is because it's a large glued together dimension of those other 3 dimensions, which means that you can't treat it as a date, which is somewhat problematic. You can possibly switch it over here like this. There we go. That's better. So now we've converted the data type to date hour minute, and that means that opens up the ability for us to look at this at a much more granular level. It also means we can now use things like line charts to be able to visualize a little bit better. There's an incredibly dense chart. So now we've got our page views. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to provide some level of filtering. By the way, if your computer is not up to the task of visualizing that much data, because you're talking about tens of thousands of lines, make sure that you don't hit chart buttons you don't mean to. So we've got this. The next thing we're going to want to do is slap some kind of filtering on this for the period of time that you're looking for, so that your computer, again, does not attempt to render this chart repeatedly and just crash. So if you know the specific time frame that you're looking for, specify it as a custom time frame here. You can see, even with a relatively new computer, this is my browser is struggling to keep up with just the sheer number of lines on this chart. So let's just go down to 7 days. Data Studio will remix, and now you can get a little more granularity. Once you flip over into view mode, you can then select the date range more thoroughly. So let's look at just yesterday. Was that yesterday? That was 2 days ago. And the chart should eventually rebuild itself. So that's how you get to this information. Again, if you know that the commercials are going to air only at a very specific time, I would say instead of using date, hour, minute, you might want to try other date fields. If you know that it's always going to be on at a certain hour of the day, you can swap in hour instead. And you can look at the hours of the day. Let's switch that to bar chart here. And there's the hours of the day. Let's change our sort ascending to see what periods of time during the day you get people looking at your stuff. Make that a little bit bigger. And our dimension. Last 7 days. Okay. You can also, if you know your television commercials on at a very specific time, like 59 minutes past the hour, instead of doing hour, just drop it in at the minute level, and you'll be able to start seeing how many minutes. The level of minutes in your data. So that would be the way I would suggest tackling this problem. If you know there are specific periods of time, use that. If you have to use the date, hour, minute field, make sure that you convert it, as we did, to a date format so that you can use it with all these other visualizations. Otherwise, you can only use it in a table, which is not ideal because then you have to apply all sorts of filters and stuff to it. Here's the other thing I would look at. you may want to do a more advanced statistical calculation. And you can't do this in Data Studio. You have to do this in something like R or Python or Tableau or something. You may want to look at the correlation between television commercial air times plus the 10 minutes on either side and website traffic to see, is there a mathematical relationship? Is there a correlation between the airtime and the traffic? By doing it that way, you can see if there is if there is a relationship, if the commercials are doing anything to drive traffic. Particularly, I would be looking at organic traffics from branded organic search or from organic search in general, because unless your commercial has obvious calls to action with URLs in them, people are going to have to search for you by name to remember the brand. So that's how I would look at this. That, again, is outside of the scope of what Data Studio can do, but it is something that I think is worth doing. If you have follow-up questions, leave them in the comments box below. There is a lot to unpack in Data Studio, so I would definitely take the Data Studio course that's available for free from Google over at analyticsacademy.withgoogle.com. It's totally free because there's so many different features that you can play with here. So give this a shot. Have some fun with it. Let me know what you think. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.